pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We'll have a roll call.
Mayor Haslett?
Here.
Alderman Smith?
Here.
Alderwoman Johnson? Alderman Donovan?
Here.
Alderman Jokers?
Here.
Alderman Eidman? Alderman Rainey?
Here.
Alderman Prince?
Here.
Alderwoman Armbruster? Here. Mayor, we have a quorum.
Very good, thank you. Need to move for approval of the agenda.
Motion to approve. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I have two presentations to make. One to Jan Brons. Jan, you're here. And then Norma Bosler. Well, there you are. Okay. I guess you can come up this way a little bit. We'll do Jan's first.
Okay.
This is a certificate of appreciation awarded to Jan Brons. The City of St. Genevieve would like to express its sincerest gratitude and appreciation for your dedication to the city while serving on the Heritage Commission, Tourism, Tax Commission, and Tourism Advisory Council. Thank you for your years of service.
I'm flattered and honored.
Appreciate it. Ms. Norma? This is to Norma Bosler and is awarded to her. The City of St. Genevieve would like to express its sincerest gratitude and appreciation for your dedication of 36 years of keeping City Hall clean. Well, that's quite an accomplishment.
I'm sorry about some of the stuff, guys.
It's not your fault.
Underneath my control.
That's right. Thank you, Ms.
Okay,
Norma.
thank you.
Yeah,
Good.
I like it.
I heard people working
we have a little change in the lineup tonight. Jeanette's usually comes down in here when we do our COVID discussion, but she's got something pressing, so we're going to put her in personal appearances. So, Miss Jeanette, you want to come to the podium, please? Did you do the handout? And I think what we'll do is have our COVID discussion right now, if it's okay with everybody,
Right.
while she's here.
I had some handouts.
We're handing them out.
Okay, and since this is the last meeting for this year, I believe, and everything, I decided to do some handouts just to give you an idea. When you look at the graph, and that's on the second page. The first page is the numbers for, that is as of today about, probably 3 o'clock. When you look at the graph and everything, you'll probably say, like, and this is a week, it's by weeks. You'll look at, like, November the 13th, there's 258, and you say, how can that happen? Well, in that period of time, the state had an issue of how they were going to put them into a system. It's called an Epitrax system, and they, needless to say, it's a computer, so they had a lot of issues. So that's why you see the kind of upsurge that you see there. You can also see how good we were until we had an upsurge in August, and we kind of figured that was probably because people all of a sudden thought, oh my God, it's the middle of August, our kids are going to go back to school and we haven't done anything. So they went on vacation. Then the kids went to school. There was another upsurge and everything. If you notice, Monday, if our numbers still stay fairly consistent, I will be very happy, because that will be about 14 days from Thanksgiving. And needless to say, if anybody watches TV, how many times have you heard they say, what are we going to do? What's going to happen as far as the numbers are and everything? The other thing is vaccine. we have a Zoom almost on a daily basis about vaccine. The last that we heard is possibly we would be getting something December the 22nd. Please do not chisel that in stone, because it'll change every day. The other thing about the vaccine, already in Britain, they said, there was a reaction, and they called it an amphiphloid, which is almost like anaphylactic. And all it was, they got a rash, which is not, unusual. But I think other people hear that and they think, oh my God, I'm not going to do that. And, that I feel that vaccine is safe. It is safe. And I'm going to take it. And I know a lot of other people are going to take it. With that said, I know a lot of people said, oh no, I'm not going to take it, because it's too fast. But the other thing you got to remember, this is 2020. If this was maybe 1970 or 1980, and they whipped something out as fast, I might have some trepidation. But science, what they've been doing in these years is phenomenal. And then remember about polio and all those other vaccines, almost eradicated in the world. Okay. And I guess really, if you all don't have any questions, or if you have questions, I'll try and answer them. The other thing, if you look at this, take this graph home and you think to yourself, what is this? And everything, or why is it like this? Call me at the health department. I'll be very happy to answer any questions to the best of my ability. Yes, sir.
Can you explain a little bit more about the actual vaccine and vaccination, that it's different than a lot of the vaccines we've had in the past?
Well, I guess for one thing, the difference is that it's 2 shots. Pfizer's has to be stored at 73 degrees Celsius and everything. The health department, we're not going to get that vaccine now. If we do get it, we don't have the capabilities to keep that kind of temperature. You have to buy a special freezer and everything. They recommend not doing that. That particular vaccine is going to go to Kansas City, Springfield, Cape Girardeau, and St. Louis. And then the other one, Moderna, that can be stored like any of our other vaccines are, like the flu and those type of things.
This vaccine is not actually a live virus, right?
No, it is not.
Right.
That is correct.
And ultimately, if somebody has concerns about taking the vaccine, they should consult with their health care professional or their doctor.
Right, their doctor, or, they could call the health department. And also, they're not going to be giving it to children under the age of, I believe it's, I didn't write it down, but I think it's like 18, which I don't look upon that as a child, but, and everything, and not to pregnant women at this time. So, when I come back in January, I'm going to bring another graft, and I'm hoping that it will look better, that it'll flatten out and everything.
Can you also show in that graph and stuff a lot of the questions or discussions I've heard about it is counting the number of people that have been tested.
Correct.
That we show, we've got this large increase in positive, but how does that correlate to the amount of people that's being tested? Are we testing more? Are we testing the same? Are we testing less? But that would help.
I think probably we're testing less because people aren't going to go get tested because they're not sick. They don't want to be positive because then what's going to happen. They have to quarantine. And then there are some people who have been tested and they didn't quarantine.
Who tested positive and went
Yes.
out to the public anyway?
Yes.
Are there two types of tests? Is there a quick test and then a different test? Because I keep hearing different stories.
The only one I'm familiar with is the nasal one. I think it's Binanex or something like that, but I think they question that reliability.
Any other questions?
Okay, I want to thank you all and have a
Thank you,
wonderful
Mr. Mayor.
holiday, and above all, thank you for wearing a mask. I find that so very important.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Takes us on to our city administrator's report.
You've got the updated report at your seats. Draw your attention to item 6. We're in need of a part-time cleaning person at City Hall. You just saw a presentation for our former cleaning person, so we're looking at 4 hours a week. If you know of anybody that would be interested, have them come by and get an application. We'll consider it. Item 7, out at the south sinkhole next to the church property, we have found an exposed 12-inch water main. That's on that, the water that's, the stormwater that drains through there going into that sinkhole has caused a large erosion issue. So we're going to have to look at that closer, get an engineer out there to give us some recommendations. We may be hiring somebody to give us some drawings on that, on how to protect that water line and how to route that water properly. Easier said than done because you've got the water coming off of the fields that are out there, the ball fields as well. But we need to do something to protect that water line and cut out that exposure that we've got right now. Anything else you have any questions on? Yes.
Item 3, I guess I remember a discussion about the cemeteries, but I don't remember that we talked about violation properties or getting into the habit of mowing them.
Yeah, that was part of the budget. We discussed that when we went through on the different line items. I thought we had brought that up. I know we talked about it internally. We don't have time for our staff to go out and cut these lots. So we put into the budget enough to cover what we think it'll cost to do the weed violations. And we figured on about $5,000. So we're doing that, and then we're going to do the cemeteries. That'll be coming up. I'll put that out for bid at the end of this month.
And on that note with that violation program, I had some questions about the bidding process and the way that we requested the bid. How are we asking them to bid? Are we asking them to give a number with the unknown of what types of properties they're going to have to mow? Or are they allowed to bid an hourly rate? Because, mowing a property with all kinds of flower beds and features and stuff will take a different amount of time than mowing an open space or a small lot versus a larger lot. How is that factored into the bid?
Hey, David, I wonder if you could come up to the podium. Yes. We're talking about nuisance properties and last summer, we're just finishing up, how many jobs did we have to hire out to do this, to nuisance properties? Rough ballpark? 3. So it's not, and it could be more than that, but.
even though we have that in the budget now, we send a bill to that property owner.
Right, right.
Did we get paid?
Thank you, Mr.
2
Beck.
and 3. Now, sometimes that involved a special tax bill lien before the payment was made, but payment was then made.
So the bid form itself delineates 3 sizes of lots. We can adjust that as we need to, depending upon what factors are involved in that. But everybody will be bidding on the same type of lot structure, and then also cleaning of, if they're going to clean up, if there's debris or that, then they can give an hourly rate for that. So that's what they'll be submitting next Thursday.
So these numbers are mainly to make a decision, a financial decision for our part, but there could be some levels of a case-by-case basis in the actual
Absolutely.
performing of the job.
Yeah, because you may get, it may be where we've tried working with a property owner and the grass just keeps growing. We may be at a 3-foot level. We're not going to just say it's just this price. We'll work with them on that.
Okay.
So we've sent it out to 5 different landscape companies that have the right to submit or not submit, and we also advertised it in the paper.
Okay.
So,
Yeah. Thank you.
Were these vacant properties, Dave, or were they empty lots, or what?
No, they were all residential lots.
Residential.
And I've had 3 contractors call me about the very questions you have, and I've given them all the same answer that Happy just gave you.
Gotcha. And are we doing, sorry to, when there is a violation, how much time are we giving them to correct it before we take care of it?
I usually start with a door knock or a phone call, because that solves the majority of issues. And then if that doesn't solve it, then I'll put a letter in the mail, and usually give a week to 10 days. If that doesn't solve it, then I'll send an officer over there with a ticket and call. You know, in the past, what I've done is call 3 or 4 different contractors and get a price. This solves that step, and I can just call someone and say, go.
Good deal. Thank you.
I just wanted to address number 4 real quickly as well. With respect to the visitor center, Toby, why are we getting a bid to replace the boxwoods when we can simply trim them?
it's just my opinion on those boxwoods is that they've outgrown the area. They need to be pulled, and then we can go back with our other plants. If we were to trim them back, they can be trimmed back at 6 inches per year. We're not going to get very far in the amount of time that we're going to donate that to the Park Service, or in our estimation. Last year when I arrived, there's a lot of bees and wasps that were hanging around those boxwoods. That kind of scares me from a safety aspect, that I think they need to be pulled. It'll open up the sidewalk some, because they've grown out to the sidewalk. It'll clear that out, and we'll...
You know, I have the same boxwoods on my property that are trimmed nice and neatly as well. I mean, right across from you, I have the exact same boxwoods, and I happen to take care of mine instead of pulling them out. So I don't understand why we're paying people to pull them when you can trim them.
So we can trim them.
I think that's a better call.
We can do that, but they will lose their foliage if we just trim them back, because they need to be trimmed back over a time. And this is from some plant experts that we talked to.
Okay.
So if that's what
Are they causing an issue with the sidewalk themselves? Are we lifting the sidewalk?
No.
Right, it's just a matter of...
It's just a matter of maintaining your plants properly.
and we're looking at the whole, this was the start, because the whole property they've outgrown. They're just too large at this point.
And you can maintain that if you have maintenance plan.
But,
Because I do.
yeah.
Have you seen mine out in front? Nice, small,
Oh,
tight.
yeah, I'm not disagreeing. I see what Happy's saying, and that the proper way to take care of them is you trim a little bit at a time, but by the time we transfer it, they're not going to be managed, and it's going to be out of our hand to do it. So I see what you're saying, Happy, with your recommendation.
Right.
I mean, just because we receive a bid doesn't mean we have to exercise contract, right?
Right.
Okay.
So if the board is of the opinion that you'd rather not have them pulled, you'd rather have them trimmed, we'll do that.
It would save a heck of a lot of money. It would make it save
Has
money.
the National Parks brought this up to us, that it's an issue?
No.
They've discussed it, that they can tell that the plants have outgrown their space.
When you
It's
say
just-
outgrown their space, I just want to make it clear. It's because they haven't been maintained. Boxwoods can be any size you want them to be. Matter of fact, they make sculptures out of them in England and Europe, right? So I'm asking us to save a lot of money from getting them pulled up and just trim them. That's all I'm saying.
Well, I was understanding too, you can't trim a boxwood until the spring. Is that right? That's what John Carroll told me, and he's pretty much of an expert on
It doesn't matter
boxwoods.
when you trim them. They're not so grown out that it's that big of a deal right now.
I didn't pay attention to it.
So I'm just
so.
asking you to think about that instead of uprooting things and tearing things down and cutting things down and everything else. Thank you.
Sure.
Who would do that for a permanent or whatever? Our people?
No, we've hired it out year after year
Oh, the trim?
to trim them, yeah,
Okay.
unsuccessfully.
Oh,
Okay. Anything else?
Okay, that'll take us to our staff reports. David, you're up.
On the Heritage Commission there, you can see the State Historic Preservation Office Historic Preservation grant that we were awarded is beginning to move forward. They have a contract for approval by Heritage Commission this month and then bring to you next month for the event that should be tentatively in May. I provided with my report the certified local government report that is submitted each year. Just kind of wanted to show you what the Heritage Commission has done over the past year. We've been a certified local government program participant for the past 28 years. That gives us an advantage when we do apply for grants. The Heritage Commission had 10 meetings, drafted and passed an unnecessary hardship ordinance this past year. Reviewed 37 applications. All were approved either as presented or amended. So they did suggest some amendments to some of those, and those were passed. I pointed out in the report there that I've been working with the Foundation for Restoration as kind of a outsource from the Heritage Commission to establish a historic preservation redevelopment program. The foundation applied for a $15,000 grant and was awarded that, and are now conducting a study through the RPC to see if the redevelopment program is feasible. If it is approved, they'll apply for a $100,000 grant next. And then I did want to point out that there was no professional development due to COVID for the Heritage Commission this year, but would like to schedule something for them next year, pandemic allowing. In addition to that, it's not on my report, and it was in the Herald this week, but I wanted to point out, the Heritage Commission isn't directly related to this effort, but we did have 2 local winners of Missouri Preservation Awards. Those are handed out regularly by the Missouri Preservation Organization. Let me pass this around if you want to look at it, though it was in the Herald this week. That was announced virtually Tuesday, December 8th, and in the Herald this week. Tim Conley was presented the Rozier Award. The Rozier Award is the most prestigious award they hand out for someone who's basically dedicated their life to historic preservation. Tim has dedicated over 50 years to historic preservation. He's restored buildings in St. Paul, Minnesota, Louisiana, Missouri, Lafayette Square in St. Louis, and of course here locally, the Academy, the John Baptiste Valley, which is now part of the National Park, and his current home, which is the Antoine Aubuchon across from the old Academy. In addition to that, the St. John First Presbyterian Church was given the, McReynolds Award for restoring the Silversmith's house, or the Antoine O'Neill house. They purchased that in 2006, and then with help from the Jeffrey Challenge Grant, raised enough money to fully restore it, and it opened to the public September 14th of last year. So just wanted to call attention to those historic preservation efforts from local folks and give them some kudos. You can see there the number of permits that were issued the past month. I wanted to let you know that our new inspector For the most part, I helped a little bit, but Gene has been downstairs trying to get ready to organize all the old plans that are down there. So for those of you who have been down the basement, the hope is this winter to build a cabinet to hold those plans and organize them. And he's been down there going through all of them, unrolling them and labeling them so that they will be properly organized and labeled here in the next 6 months, hopefully. And you can see the rest of the report there. Any questions?
Very much.
Thanks.
Tony?
All right, so you have my report that includes, starts with a summary on the Show Me Strong grant we received the reimbursements on when the grant program concluded on November 20th. So you can see the amount there. That was for marketing and for supplies related to the CARES Act. And then some of the information follows, kind of shows the effect of the Madden Media program that we had through our social media, and how that impacted our Facebook page in terms of the number of likes over the last 2 months, and also the traffic to our website as compared to the last couple of years for October and November. And below the last graph on that first page kind of talks about where those website visitors came from in terms of what states they were at. And then we used the money in the Facebook campaign to help launch a electronic newsletter through Constant Contact, and we had more than 1,100 people sign up for that already. So we did the first newsletter in November, and it shows the rates of how many people opened and clicked through for the information that took them to our website. We also, below that, I have the chart for the visitor tracking for the last 2 months that shows what states people came from. So with this data, we can also next week, we'll have a meeting of the Tourism Advisory Council. We can talk about kind of where to project some funds for next year. There's another marketing grant program that opens up. Actually, the application will be filed this month, and the program runs January through June. We're eligible for some state funds there that we can probably again revisit some social media marketing and kind of target some of those places where we see people are reacting to those campaigns so far. Last weekend was the Holiday Christmas Festival in town. I think Annette Rolfe did an amazing job putting that together this year because of the number of complications that came up in the days leading up to it. It seemed like daily there was something changing in terms of venues or someone who couldn't make it to perform. So she did a great job to pull that together this year. Had some great weather on Saturday that I think helped move people around through town. We have upcoming events. The shops in town, about half a dozen or so, are running extended hours on Friday, going till 8 p.m. And so along with that, the French Colonial America is having their Vieux Noël at the Linden House, which is kind of a lighted tour through the backyard to a nativity scene. They've got some live music, coffee and cocoa, and some cookies back there. So you can walk through the boxwoods and have a snack. And they're doing that on Friday nights. They've already actually announced that this week's going to be kind of altered because of the forecast of rain. They're going to have their Center for French Colonial Life open instead. But then on the 18th, they'll have the Vieux Noël, and then they'll also do it on New Year's Eve. They're bringing Dennis Stromat to town with a grant from the Missouri Humanities Council. He's going to perform first at the Catholic Church in the afternoon, and then he's going to perform at the Linden House in that evening. We have a Christmas pageant this weekend at the Oris Theater on Saturday night and Sunday afternoon. The community center is going to have their vendor fair this weekend, and the library is also working with the community center for a kind of a candy cane drive-through where you can pick up a gift bag from Santa Claus. I think the registration for that's already filled out. La Guillone has been canceled this year, but as mentioned, Dennis Stromat will be coming to town for a program. The King's Ball also has been canceled for February of 2021. And that closes the report. Some of you probably know that the governor was in town, came in yesterday, spent the night, and was around a little bit today. He visited through the Welcome Center yesterday afternoon, said he was just kind of wandering about and didn't want to have anything formal set up. So we offered a house tour for him, but he opted to just walk around and check out the stores and sites. And then we are, on Monday, will be actually the halfway point between the two eclipse events, so the radar for April of 2024. And we do have a person who's coming to town next week. We'll get some more details and get them to the paper and the radio station, who's coming from New Jersey, and he'll be visiting because of the national park, which is something we're seeing more of, people just coming specifically for the national park and the stamp. And this will be his 417th national park unit he's visited. So he's almost got them all covered, and when the new park opened, he wanted to come out and check it out. So that's all I've got. Anybody have any questions? Mm-hmm.
Tina, you're up.
Good evening, everyone.
Evening, brother.
Should have a report in front of you. Probably the biggest things I would bring forward is we've gone to virtual training at the firehouse right now because of the COVID. We're sending out training videos and having the guys review them, and when we get through this stuff, we're going to bring them back in and start practicing some of the videos we've been sending out. We do have the spec ready for the pickup truck that we're wanting to purchase, but in talking with the state government, state purchasing authority, their current bid schedule runs out December 31st. So they are supposed to be coming out with the new bids about midway through this month. So we'll be having a reference point to go out for bids for the pickup truck. So we're still working on that. And the LEDs are almost complete. We're down to the last few lights in the very back end of the building, but because of COVID, we're telling our guys if they don't need to be there, kind of stay away from the firehouse. So things have slowed down a little bit. Call load has picked up a little bit. We're still behind from last year, but I still anticipate us being in the 220 range compared to 230 last year, so we'll be close to where we were.
Is that just a regular pickup you're gonna have?
Yeah, it'll be a regular 1-ton pickup truck. And talking to some of the younger guys that are going to be with this truck a while, there's been some discussion about going from a 2-door cab to an extended cab to be able to put some stuff behind the seat. So when we go out for bids, we'll bid it both ways and see which is more what we need. And everything else from the truck itself should be able to switch out of one truck into the next. So we'll have to replace, or put a new winch and a brush guard on the front and some new lighting, LED lighting for the emergency lights. But other than that, everything should switch over.
What's the value of the truck we're replacing? We don't know that.
We don't know. If I had to guess, because it is an older truck, but it's got, I think, less than 10,000 miles on it. If I had to guess, I'd say you're probably looking at $7,000, $8,000. It's a gas engine with a stick shift is why we're getting rid of it. About half the people anymore can't drive stick, so that's the reason for replacing it.
That's old. What year is it?
It's in 1995.
Any other questions? Thank you, Kenny.
Thank you.
Keith Bennett.
Good evening.
Evening.
How's everybody?
All right.
Well, I don't have much to report. Everything's going along. We did get affected by the corona. Had the majority of our staff out the last couple of weeks. Almost everybody's back now. We still have one that's had some issues that he's trying to overcome, but everybody else is happy and healthy and back to work. So I was looking, we're actually, I hate to even say it out loud, but we're at like 1.5 years with no turnovers. So all the guys are happy, and again, I think they're very appreciative of your support, and it's fantastic. So thank you guys. Does anybody have any questions?
What's the recommendation on like animals, dogs, basically, at large? What do we call it, dispatch?
Dispatch, yes. If Deputy Barton is not on, he's the county's animal control agent. So we actually, they passed their law enforcement sales tax several years ago, that included the dog catcher. So they took over the dog catching responsibilities for the city. If he's not available, if it's something that our guys can do, I mean, we're not really equipped to haul dogs in our cars. The sheriff's department has access to other vehicles, and they can come out and assist with that also.
Yeah, his vehicle's
pretty nice.
Yeah, it's got
I mean, it's
got
got
a nice setup, and I think they have a couple other backup vehicles there that are available should the guys need them. So the deputies have keys to that, and will come and respond when we need assistance.
So I didn't see it on there, and I didn't look real hard. Sometime, what kind of, I guess, how often does that happen?
As far as calling the sheriff's department?
For the
Frequently.
dogs and whatever is large.
Yeah, pretty frequently. Most of the time, it'll go straight to them. They won't even call us. They'll
So you're not aware
dispatch
of
our.
it, maybe, huh? You're not aware of it, maybe?
Not always.
Yeah.
Like I said, if he's on duty, then they'll give him straight to Deputy Barton. If he's not on duty, then they may call our officers. Again, if it's, we'll certainly respond and assist if we're able to track it down. Like I said, we just don't have the equipment that they have to try to catch a dog or other animals. So typically, we will defer to them.
Yeah. It's better that they do it. Because I was involved with years ago when the city did it.
Yeah.
It wasn't an easy.
No, it's
easy
not.
job getting those animals in them cages.
No. Has there been an issue? Is there something we need to address?
No, I just, every once in a while I see one.
Oh, okay.
Running around, and I'm kind of reluctant to call. I'm thinking maybe somebody.
And typically, if we see one, we'll call for Deputy Barton and see if he's available to assist us, and we'll try to round them up.
Yeah.
Wrangle them, if you will.
All right.
Anything else? Thank you.
Thank you, Eric. Steve?
Evening, everyone.
Evening.
Everyone should have my report. Most of the stuff I'm going to report on tonight is stuff that's been happening since the report was produced. Had a water main break on Market Street the other day. Worked on it till about 8:30 at night. The following morning, we had one on St. Jude Drive. Worked on that the next morning, most of the day. The bigger water line we need to talk about is the one Happy had mentioned. That's a 12-inch water line with an exposed 45 with a concrete thrust block on it. That line pretty much goes directly to the Emerald Tower. If that line blows out, it'll drain that tower in 30 minutes. So the severity and the importance of that repair, it's very high. So the sooner we can get talking to an engineer or whatever route Happy decides he wants to proceed on it, the better. So, yes, Joe.
Steve, there had been some talk in the past about when there's water main breaks of utilizing the textcaster to let people know. I know when the one happened on Market Street, Facebook was lit up from all over the place wondering why there was no water pressure. I got several phone calls from neighbors in St. Jude right down the street from me that from that water main break. And I checked my phone several times and there were no text casts sent out. Didn't you have access to that at one time? Or?
No, I've never had access to Textcaster. If I have access to it, I will use it religiously. So far, we've done Facebook. It's been on the radio channel, the local TV station, and just working in town.
Something he can be set up with, access to that, or?
I'll have to check. I think so, but we also can do it in-house. I didn't realize that we had what kind of flexibility we had with it. It'll be due here shortly. So the question was whether to keep it or not keep it, so we're going to keep it. So we will utilize it more often. I think we've been focusing on Facebook more than anything.
Yeah, if I had access to Textcaster, I mean, we could let them know when we're flushing in areas, when we're jetting sewers in areas.
Well, that's one of the
just regular-
options you check whenever you sign up for those type of notifications. But yet, I don't remember ever getting one, and I thought we've discussed this before.
Just tell me who I need to talk to get moving on it.
All
right.
Yeah. But I don't think we've advertised it well enough either. I honestly didn't realize we had it until it became new.
Yeah,
We got
Yeah, I
sponsors that
know.
help us out. So we'll utilize it more often.
Yes. All right. Is there any questions about my report? Last thing I have is every year after the fiscal year ends, previous fiscal year, we see where we're at. And on the bottom line of our repair account, we have the money that's left that wasn't spent from the previous year. And I always present the check. This year, the check's for $8,477. It's a refund back to the city that was not spent. So,
Steve?
yes.
One of the questions I forgot to ask is something you know, when the drought was here, how were our wells and water supply? I mean, were we any issues? I mean, were we running close or were we?
No. Had it been a year before, we would have, there would have been some concerns. This year, we did maintenance to the raw water lines. The transmission line goes from the wells to the plant. That line 2 years ago was producing about 580 gallons a minute. This year we can produce upwards of 1,200. So there was no issues with producing water or supply.
Thank you, Steve.
All right.
Thank
Gary, thank you.
Good evening. You guys got my report. Some of the usual stuff, burnt brush site. We got all the street lights downtown finally operating again. Got Christmas decorations up. We put some outlets in the planter in front of City Hall. Utilize them for decorations. Rip wrapped the ditch at 7th and Jefferson. Did some potholes. We cut the brush, weeds, and the debris on the ditch in Point Base behind Valley's baseball field. We did some downtown cleanup for events and swept leaves. Any questions, comments?
I noticed your crew was down at the train track cleaning out, we're doing a pretty good job down there.
Yeah, we finally got that tree out of there. We're dry enough to get into that bottom.
Strong work at Point Base, too.
They cleaned up real well and that grate burned off perfect.
Get a
There's
lot of
nothing,
compliments on their food.
nothing left on it, so.
Yeah.
Any other thing?
Thank you, Gary. Any committee reports?
Just a quick note for the park board. Usually our meetings are held on the fourth Tuesday of the month. For December, that's going to fall on the 22nd. Due to COVID and the way the holiday falls and not anticipating having a quorum, they look to cancel the December meeting and pick up the momentum in January. So just a public note, I guess.
Good, thank you. Are there any public comments tonight? Very good. So at 6:43, we're going to have our first public hearing. Starting at 6:43, the St. Genevieve Board of Aldermen will hold a public hearing to hear a request from Ronnie Milfeld Aldermen LLC, for a variance and special use permit to erect a 24-foot by 12-foot freestanding sign at 17746 U.S. Highway 61. The property is currently located in the R1 Single Family Residential District.
Mr. Milfeld applied October 16th. Notice that the meeting was mailed to applicants and the adjoining property owners on the 26th. Notice sent to the police and fire. On the 26th, the application returned from police and fire on November 2nd with no comments as to the application. Meeting notice for P&Z sent to the media on November 2nd. P&Z held their meeting on November 5th and approved the special use permit with the terms and conditions by a vote of 602, which was then put to a public hearing tonight, scheduled a public hearing for the Board of Aldermen. Hearing notice was sent to the paper November 6th, ran in the paper November 25th. That brings us to tonight. I have had no calls in support or opposition to this special use permit.
Are there any questions?
Does this fall under any of MoDOT's?
In the staff report, it covers that, and it does not.
Any other questions? At 6:44, we'll close the public hearing on this one. So at 6:44 also, we'll start another public hearing. Our second public hearing is the St. Genevieve Board of Aldermen will hold a public hearing to hear a request from St. Genevieve Properties LLC and Hunter Lee Holdings for a special use permit to replace a previously non-conforming mobile home with a newer model mobile home on lot number 4 at 205 South 10th Street, which is located in the R2 General Residential District.
Application was received from St. Genevieve Properties October 29th. Notice of meeting was mailed to the applicant and the adjoining property owners October 29th, that same day. Notice sent to police and fire on October 30th and received back on November 2nd with no comments from police or fire. Meeting notice of P&Z sent November 2nd. P&Z held their meeting obviously November 5th and approved the special use permit with the terms and conditions there by a vote of 5-1-2. Public hearing was then scheduled for tonight with the Board of Aldermen. Notice sent to the Herald on November 6th, ran in the paper November 25th. And I did receive 2 phone calls with questions just about what was this really from 2 adjoining property owners. They just wanted to clarify that it was a mobile home. And then the night of the meeting, there were 2 parties who spoke that night. One was just questions, and the other was in opposition. Any questions for me at this time?
Dave, I have a question about inspections. If we have a single-family home, because we have direct control of the utilities, we inspect every single-family home for occupancy.
We inspect every building for occupancy as long as, we're notified or they come to change the water or Citizens Electric notifies us that the electric changed.
Do we do that same process with apartments?
Yes.
And with mobile homes existing?
Every building. Now keep in mind, an occupancy inspection is just safety and security. So, we're not looking to see that you have every piece of siding. We're looking to see if there's large gaps of siding missing or something like that. So we're not looking to see that the structure is beautiful. It's just the basics.
So we're looking at mechanical.
We're looking to make sure we run the water, make sure there's no leaks that we can see, that there's smoke detectors, carbon monoxide detectors, shut-off valves on gas appliances, the door's locked, the windows aren't broke, there's no visible roof leaks. But we don't dig into like a home inspector would do before you buy a home. Any other questions?
Up to you. Is there any other comments? Anybody want to comment?
I have some comments.
Okay. You can come to the podium. Tell us your name.
Thank you. My name is Kara Nagar. I am the owner of St. Gen Properties, and I'm here today to answer any questions you guys may have, and also to provide a little bit of history and what we're trying to do today. St. Gen Properties, my team, we purchased the park a few years back. It was a foreclosure property, and it was a package deal on 2 other properties in Bloomsdale. So we purchased that package with not the intention of keeping it long-term. However, what we did when we owned the property, we went in and redid all the gravel on the roads, put stop signs in, did remodels on 3 of the existing 9 trailers, repaired leaky roofs on the majority of them, put new skirting on them, built a white vinyl signage, and built a white vinyl fence around the dumpster to improve the property. Again, it wasn't our intention to keep the park long-term, so we sold the managing to the Hunter Holdings, which is listed on there. We have 9 units that are currently 9 operating lots. One of the trailers was extremely dilapidated after a renter went through there under Hunter Holdings management. We agreed with him that we would go ahead and let him remove it from the lot with the intention that he must replace it. Not to expand the park in any way, but just to replace an existing trailer. And he must replace it with a newer model. If anybody has been down in that area, these are the original homes that were down there. So 50s, 60s, etc. So he is tasked with bringing in a new trailer that's a 1980 model or newer. Hunter, unfortunately, has fallen on some bad times with COVID and lost his job. So he sold the park just within the last 12 to 14 days to David, who is the one purchasing the new trailer upon approval, a 1980 or model hire, investing a lot of money in purchasing that trailer and then a lot of money just to move it into the home. So we are asking today to get approval of a 1980 model or newer on that lot. And I'm happy to answer any questions you guys may have. Yes.
I guess I'm a little confused and stuff. You're not the current owner.
I am. So I am a co-owner. So we are like a lien holder, lease to own agreement. They own all the leases, manage all the properties, and collect all the rents, do all the maintenance. We are just the lien holder until they've paid out, then we will be removed from the title. So St. John Properties is still on the land title of the properties.
But not the titles to the trailers.
To everything, until we have a lien on all of them until he's paid it off. Mm-hmm. Yes.
So these are rented units, so it works much like an apartment, that if there's a maintenance issue or concern, you as a property owner are liable to address the issue and not necessarily the homeowner or the tenant.
So Hunter Holdings is. He has all rights to the leases, to the people he brings in, to the manager of the park. He has full rights to control all that. And again, David with Gateway West is the new has bought out Hunter's rights, and he is the new owner of that. And he's wanting to bring in some new money to the park by putting this trailer in. It's leaps and bounds above what is there now. This park does service low-income families.
So where is this new owner based out of?
He's based in Iowa, and his manager is just 20 minutes away in Festus.
The company that it's getting sold to?
Mm-hmm. That was sold. It's already sold.
The most recent sale?
Correct.
Is that manager here today?
No.
Is the new owner here?
No,
Is
If we're gonna address the board, you need to be at the podium, so we'll
Okay.
just.
Sure. At the end of the day, this park, we are on the lien and we are on the title. So it is imperative, we have an agreement with them that it has to be a nicer model trailer, and we also have an agreement with them that they can't go below occupancy. They basically can't run the park down because it's not going to be in our best interest if they do that. So.
And you remain on this lien as well until this new sale is?
Until they have paid off the lien. Yes, the debt service.
When you talked about this 1980 model mobile home, then it's not the mobile home that you showed the night the pictures of planning and
The
zoning.
one I showed you was a 1989 model home that they were looking at purchasing. They won't be able to purchase until we get approval. Once we get approval, then they will be able to exercise the purchase. So that was one of the homes they're looking at. It has to be 1980 or higher. But they haven't made the purchase until we get the approval. Else,
So we don't
the
know
home
for
will
sure.
sit there somewhere else.
Right, we don't know for sure what home they're putting in there.
No, but it has to be a 1980 or higher, which is significantly better than any other home. If that's something of stipulation for you all that you want to see, after we have approval, if you want to see the pictures of the home or whatever, I'm sure he'd be happy to do that.
Personally, I'd like to see it before, but that's,
Sure. Unfortunately, he can't purchase it until we have approval that he can pull it in. But I'm sure he would be thrilled to send you the data as soon as we have approval.
Any other questions for this young lady? Okay, thank you. Anybody else like to address the board?
Yeah, I'm Ron Gettinger. I live across the street from the trailer park. This microphone, does it work?
Yes.
Okay. I have tinnitus. I really only heard a fraction of anything said tonight because this does not work very well. Okay. So I could only assume a little bit of what she said. I think she said that she was a lien holder and her name was on the title or something like that. I've had property, worked in property and rebuilt property and remodeled property. I've lived in my house since 1979, 41 years. Okay. Bank never came before anybody to talk for me whenever I wanted to do something. I was always here. I wanted the stuff done. I was going to do it. I was going to take care of it. I stood before the board if needed to, and I addressed them myself. I didn't have the bank come for me to talk for me. Okay? I guess this is a virtual meeting too.
Yes.
If the new owner wanted to be here, he could certainly be here. The last meeting we had, whoever was going to do the buying or setting up the trailer or doing whatever, he didn't show up either. You know, how can these people want to do something when they don't even come for the important stuff? Who's going to be there whenever they need something repaired? We've looked at underpinning missing for years, windows busted, you know, whatever just trashy neighborhood, you know. Whatever. They're going to put a new trailer in, and they're talking about the money they're going to spend on it. Why didn't anybody spend any money to do any repairs? I think it appears after we had the last meeting and the committee discussed what needed to be done, and I think my daughter took some pictures and brought them down here. I think they did a little bit of repair just for this meeting for the most part, you know. Other than that, once this trailer's here, we're still going to be looking at, this trailer's in back, as a matter of fact, the new one that they're putting in. People driving through the neighborhood, driving through the city won't even see it because it's hidden in back and the rest of the junk's going to be in front. You know, that's my opinion. The board might think they don't really have anything to say about how the property's taken care of, but I don't know the exact details, but I know there's a Geck woman that owns a house across from the old firehouse. You all are aware of that, aren't you? I think the property might have just been sold because they've been working on it. And I don't know all the details, but I know that the board has fined the lady, you know, did whatever they came in and did repairs on the house. You know, I don't really see how that's any different than this trailer park we looked at for the last 40 years. It's gone downhill, no money's been spent on it. Some of the original trailers are sitting there. If it weren't for my neighbor right at the closest corner to my house and my daughter Lindsay's house, it would look a lot worse because that guy takes care of the property. He takes care of his property and other properties around it. He mows the grass, makes it look nice. You know, if it wouldn't be for him, none of the trailers would look nice, you know. So that's my opinion. You know, if anybody has any questions for me about anything we saw throughout the years, you can ask me right now or whatever. So
that trailer park was there when you bought your property down there?
Yeah, I think. Well, Bob might know, but I think his Uncle Joe was either running it or owned it. Do you remember exactly?
He just owned the property.
He owned the property?
And lived there.
Well, there was trailers there already. He didn't live there, did he?
No.
Okay.
No, there was an old two-story house there.
Yeah, and that was, when I moved there, the trailer park was already there.
Right.
Okay.
The trailer at the corner closest to my house and my daughter Lindsay's house is one of the original trailers that was there when we moved there. Okay? They must like their neighbors because it's the longest. Whenever somebody moves there, they stay there the longest. Okay? It's been, you know, the rest of the trailers, you know, they move in, move out, move in, move out, move in, move out. We talked about, or there was a little discussion about what you looked at whenever you inspected trailers. The trailer behind that the corner trailer I just discussed, this is hearsay. The guy in the corner who knows everything about the trailer park said there was somebody lived in there a couple weeks, and they woke up one morning or in the middle of the night, and there was a possum in the trailer, and so they left and never came back. And I think that was probably the last time. You know, the inspections don't include stuff to keep rodents like possums out of the trailer. There's a problem, you know.
Well, I would think that our inspection would, because I've been on the advantage of being addressed with a trailer to where there's water heaters falling through the floor that we found in condemned trailers.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
if there was now I'm not saying we inspected that trailer, but I'm sure if there was a case like that, we would before we allowed anybody to live there. The problem is
can I ask who you are?
Being able to get into the.
Can I ask who you are? Can I ask who you are? Because I don't know.
Yeah, my name's Paul.
And what are you? Are you something in the city?
Yeah, I'm the mayor.
Oh, okay. Oh, Paul. Okay. Paul Hassler. Okay. All right. I'm not very good with faces, so.
That's all right.
Okay.
Okay. So,
I just want to know who I was talking to.
Yeah,
I was talking to you.
yeah.
Okay.
And that's what I was curious, because I've been in the city for 25 years and been going by that trailer park, and I didn't know how long it was here.
Yeah. All right.
Any questions for Mr. Gettinger?
I do. Ron, do you feel like you have an avenue? Do you feel like you have a route to bring these concerns up with the city and seek some resolution, or do you not?
No, there's no avenue. I mean, I've talked to David. David's great. You know, he does his job, but he's limited on what he can do. You know, if you bring something up to David, he will check on it. You know, I think he goes out of his way to make sure and just tonight talking to him, he said the first thing he does is call somebody or knock on their door. You know, what better way to take care of something, you know, as the first thing to get is a letter. You know, David's great. I love what David does. I appreciate what he does. You know, but he's limited. You know, there's certain regulations. They certainly need to clamp down on the regulations for mobile homes and make sure they're a lot more stringent. People living in these places, you know, they're already paying a couple $100, maybe $200, $300, $400 a month rent, you know, whether it's here or out on Breeze Hill. They live in a trailer. I don't know if you know how the trailer is designed, but they put the heating and cooling in from the bottom ductwork. They put a little thin layer of insulation underneath there, but about 10 years down the road, there's no insulation left. The ductwork is falling down from the floor. They're heating the outside and the inside, especially when there's no underpinning or underpinning is full of holes. They're heating the outside and the inside. $400 electric bill, heating bill, along with the $300 rent. It's a crime. It really is a crime, you know? And these people, well, there's Frank Ralph, and I heard this secondhand. I didn't read his books or anything, but I think the guy that bought whatever.
Yeah. We just want to focus on the issue at hand. I want to get into telling stories about.
Oh, no, but it has to do with the attitude.
Okay. We're on this. Frank's owns trailer parks, so we're not talking about his trailer parks. We're talking about the one near your home. So I want to keep it at that.
Okay, fine.
So I don't want to do any violation.
Okay.
Any other questions for Mr. Gettinger? Would you like to come back to the podium? Thank you very much, Mr. Gettinger.
All right, thank you, sir.
Thank you. I just wanted to readdress, his concerns. I know living next to a park is probably tough for anybody because just of the type of low income and the type of people that may turn over in a high rate there, and I know that's difficult. I would agree with him. I think David's been great, and when there is a issue like a broken window or something, he is reaching out to Travis or to, and hounding him, hey, you got to get this fixed, which is great, etc. So, but I do want to correct, I believe that, maybe just out of energy, there's some incorrect statements there as far as stating that no money has been spent to the park. I have filed my taxes, and you could see that we have spent a lot of money when we did the laundry list I just showed you of 3 inside remodels, re-gravel, new fencing around the dumpster, so the dumpster just you would drive by and not see just a dumpster, and so it's hard. Parks are hard, but they're super important. I personally grew up in a trailer park, and so having low-income homes is really important. So, any questions for me?
Kara, will, owning the property next to it, stuff there, I can tell you there was a different amount of maintenance done when you all owned it.
Correct, compared to what Travis has done.
What's been done since you haven't owned it. There's no comparison.
Yes.
You know, and what bothers me most is I drive past there in the summertime. I see windows open with no screens. I see little kids in there. I see doors open with no screen doors. I have a problem with that because those kids can't defend themselves in there, and there's stuff there because of that. Now that's neglect, and I would think you all, as being a lien holder, would be looking at them and putting some pressure on them, whoever is the owner, to secure your investment there, because if this thing fails, it comes back to you.
Correct, it does. And
you know, but I haven't seen that.
So we have been in close communication with Travis on, hey, what are you doing? What's going on with the park? You know, how did you remodel this number? You know, we know it needs repairs, etc. At the end of the day, it's his, okay? And so he's going to be abiding by the city rules. And so, unfortunately, you know, if I was living in a mobile home park and I didn't have a screen, which I'm not sure if that's 100% code not to have a screen, and I was a parent, I probably wouldn't open my window for the safety of that child. But unfortunately, some of those parents, I've walked in there and we have AC, you know, but, so unfortunately there's some of that.
So Travis manages the park right now?
He just sold his management to David. So the new owner wants to, Travis, as I mentioned earlier, fell in some really hard times with COVID. He lost his job and he needed to sell the park to somebody who would be able to keep it better than what he's been able to do.
And then, so that's David.
Correct.
Got it now. And David lives where?
He lives in Iowa, but his manager is in Festus.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Is David the Hunter Lee Holding?
No.
So with the new sale, should it be David and his company or whatever applying for the special use permit, or?
He was at the time of
That's
the
actually a legal
application.
question. The owner of the property, which is her organization, is the applicant. So that
Correct.
is the proper
I am the
applicant
applicant,
for this request.
Okay. Any other questions? Does anybody have anything different to add to this story than what we have in here? Gina?
I don't have anything different, but I agree with, oh, sorry. I'm Gina Bryan. I also own property next to this trailer, and I don't have anything different, but I 100% agree with everything that Ron Gettinger stated, that this property has been neglected, and it is. And I do want to make a comment to what Kara said about the tenants. We do not have a problem with the tenants. They are great. Everybody is very neighborly. So we're not complaining because of the tenants. We're complaining because of the care of the property.
Thank you very much.
David, have there been a large number of nuisance calls on this property?
Over the past couple of years, there have been 4 building violations and 5 nuisance violations, all abated. And that doesn't include the most recent. Mr. Gettinger brought up a window at the most recent P&Z meeting. Those were prior to that meeting. Now, they weren't necessarily all abated quickly, but they were all eventually abated.
Chief, has there been a problem with crime at this trailer park?
Kind of ebb and flows.
Okay.
We haven't had anything of note in the last several months.
Okay. Thank you.
I've had several with our property. Windows broken out, target practicing on our building, and graffiti and trash.
Directly related to the property in question?
Yes. And didn't the city have to get back involved when that mobile home was torn down to basically get them to clean up the mess that lay there for a year?
So I think they had a year to get it out of there, and it took a whole year to do it. So,
Right.
Is there any other questions? So at 7:09, we'll close this public hearing. At 7:09, we're going to open up another public hearing.
Oh my God.
Number 3, the St. Genevieve Board of Aldermen will hold a public hearing at which time citizens may be heard on proposed water sewer rates to be set by the Board of Aldermen. Is there anybody here to comment on that, or? So at 7:10, we will close this public hearing. Takes us to the consent agenda.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
No old business. There, she's on the middle of the table. Takes us to new business. Bill number 4396, an ordinance approving a budget amendment to the City of St. Genevieve fiscal year 2021 budget relating to the Capital Projects Fund number 70.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I'd like to entertain a motion for a second reading.
Motion for second reading on bill number 4396.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Second reading of bill number 4396, an ordinance approving a budget amendment to the City of St. Genevieve fiscal year 2021 budget relating to the Capital Projection Fund number 70.
Motion to approve.
Second. Roll call, please.
Alderwoman Johnson?
Yes.
Alderman Smith?
Yes.
Alderman Donovan?
Yes.
Alderman Jokers?
Yes.
Alderman Rainey?
Yes.
Alderman Prince?
Yes.
Alderwoman Armbruster?
Yes.
7 yes, 0 no's, 1 absent. Bill number 4396 now becomes ordinance 4317.
Thank you. Takes us to bill number 4397, an ordinance approving change order number 1 to the contract with NB West Contracting Company of Pacific, Missouri on the Washington Street Retaining Wall Project, SC 20-1128, with a contract reduction of $14,550.
You have a little discussion.
Yes?
Moving forward on any of these projects like this, I hope we can be a little better stewards of the taxpayers' money. You know, I did look back up. Our engineer originally projected this cost of $28,000, which included a 10% contingency fee, you know, for overages or whatever. And even with this reduction here, what are we close to double that?
No, it would have been about 30,000, so we're at 44.
But I mean, we had surveying and other related fence and...
Right. There's still another 5,000 that we'll spend on the fence on top of the wall.
Right.
So, yeah, our total will be over $50,000.
Right, so close to double.
I'm going to disagree in that when I first brought this to you, we talked about the wall itself, and then we talked about what the additionals were going to be, and I said to double that price. That put us at about $56,000. It's about what we're coming in at.
Right.
So
considerably more than the engineer originally projected.
just the wall. Again, you had the extras that were going to be a part of that. Now, we didn't have to do the road, so that did cut down on the overall bid of the project.
Yeah, it still was substantially more, and I think we need to do a better job at holding our professional engineers accountable in the future.
So you can't tie them, contractually for the price to come into what it comes in, but we can ask them to estimate better as to what the cost will be for that project.
I disagree wholly with you on that and stuff. I think we can tie them to it, and I think we should. We need to hold them accountable for what they professionally engineers tell us something is going to cost. We need to hold them within a percentage of that, or we need to have some repercussions. We have a budget amount that we want to spend. They know that up front most of the time, and I think we need to hold them accountable.
And then what you don't do is approve the project, because it comes to you with the cost from the contractor, and if you feel strongly enough that it does not meet what you think it should cost, then we don't do the projects. I mean, that price does come before this board to vote on.
Right, we can change the project then.
You can adjust it, we put
Right.
that in all of our bids. We can make changes, we can cut things out, we can do whatever we want. But you can
But-
reject it as well, so.
Right,
We'll
but we need
always
to
get-
spend what we say we're gonna spend.
Right. So we're spending less than what we said we were gonna spend on. I'm not trying to be argumentative, except that
Right.
I think we've done a good job with this project, and it's turned out to be a good project. For the street, to maintain it, and we found out that the road was not in bad condition underneath.
Right.
So that was good news that we found.
Thanks, Bob. I'm going to make a motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. I'm going to make a motion to have a second reading for bill number 4397.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Bill number 4397, an ordinance approving change order number 1 to the contract with North NB West Contracting Company of Pacific, Missouri on Washington Street retaining wall project, SC 20-1128, with a contract reduction of $14,550.
Make a motion to approve.
Second. Have a roll call, please.
Alderwoman Armbruster.
Yes.
Alderman Prince.
Yes.
Alderman Rainey.
Yes.
Alderman Jokers.
Yes.
Alderman Donovan.
Yes.
Alderman Smith.
Yes.
Alderwoman Johnson.
Yes.
7 yes, 0 no's, 1 absent. Bill number 4397 now becomes ordinance 4318.
Thank you. Takes us to bill number 4398, an ordinance authorizing the mayor to enter into an executive agreement with the Community Foundation of the Ozarks to establish a City of St. Genevieve Fund for donations to assist with Pierre Marquette Park Master Plan improvements.
Motion to approve.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye. Motion for second reading on bill number 4398.
All in favor?
Aye.
Second reading of bill number 4398, an ordinance authorizing the mayor to enter into and execute an agreement with the Community Foundation of the Ozarks to establish the City of St. Genevieve Fund for donations to assist with Pierre Marquette Park Master Plan improvements.
Move approval.
Second. Have a roll call, please.
Alderman Jokers.
Yes.
Alderman Donovan.
Yes.
Alderwoman Johnson.
Yes.
Alderman Smith.
Yes.
Alderman Rainey.
Yes.
Alderman Prince.
Yes.
Alderwoman Armbruster.
Yes.
7 yes, 0 no's, 1 absent. Bill number 4398 now becomes ordinance 4319.
Thank you. Takes us to bill number 4399, an ordinance of the City of St. Genevieve, Missouri, amending Municipal Code Chapter 715, user charge systems, specifically Section 715.040, user charge rates, subsections A and B, by revising the water use charges.
Move approval.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Is everybody, hey, pretty quiet. Have a motion for a second reading?
Move for second reading.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Lord. Bill number 4399, an ordinance of the City of St. Genevieve, Missouri, amending Municipal Code Chapter 715, user charge systems, specifically Section 715-040, user charge rates, subsections A and B, revising the water use charges.
Move approval.
Second. Have a roll call, please.
Alderwoman Armbruster.
Yes.
Alderman Prince.
Yes.
Alderman Rainey.
Yes.
Alderman Jokers.
Yes.
Well, excuse me, there's one next. Sorry. Alderman Donovan.
No.
Alderwoman Johnson.
Yes.
Alderman Smith.
I just wanted to go on record as saying I think this is a good project to go forward with. It's just that I'm concerned about COVID pandemic and the cost of living and all the things that our constituents are going through right now. So I'm going to vote no.
5 yes, 2 no, 1 absent. Bill number 4398 now becomes ordinance 4319.
Thank you. Bill number 4400, an ordinance of the City of St. Genevieve, Missouri, amending Municipal Code Chapter 715, user charge systems, specifically Section 715.140, sewer charges and billing, subsection D, by revising the sewer use charges.
Move approval.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Got to move for,
Second reading.
I'll second that.
all in favor?
Aye.
Bill number 4400, an ordinance of the City of St. Genevieve, Missouri, amending Municipal Code Chapter 715, use your charge system, specifically Section 715.140, sewer charges and billing subsections D, by revising the sewer use charges.
Move approval.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Alderman Rainey.
Yes.
Alderman Jokers.
Yes.
Alderman Donovan.
You know, I'm going to vote no again and basically repeat what Gary said. I'm in favor of moving forward, and I understand, you know, maintenance and the upkeep. And I had said at an earlier meeting, I'm just not sure it's the time to raise with all of the COVID and the hardship our taxpayers have underwent, but so I'm a no.
Alderwoman Johnson.
Yes.
Alderman Smith.
No.
Alderman Prince.
Yes.
Alderwoman Armbruster.
Yes.
5 yes, 2 no, 1 absent. Bill number 4400 now becomes 4321.
Thank you. Takes us to bill number 4401, an ordinance approving change order number 3 to the contract with CE Contracting Incorporated of St. Genevieve, Missouri for the water main improvement project number 20-8099 with contract reduction of $44,007.80.
Motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Hi. Can I ask a question?
Yes, ma'am.
Happy, do we know if this is going to result in any sort of a net savings down the road, or do we think it's just going to be a wash?
I think it's going to be a wash. We're going to end up paving Cedar Lane using the money that we're saving on this.
Okay, thank you.
Motion, are we at that point yet?
For second reading.
A motion for a second reading on bill number 4401, please.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Second reading of bill number 4401, an ordinance approving change order number 3 to the contract with CE Contracting Incorporated of St. Genevieve, Missouri for the water main improvement project number 20-8099 with contract reduction of $44,447.08.
Motion to approve.
Second.
A roll call, please.
Alderman Smith.
Yes.
Alderwoman Johnson.
Yes.
Alderman Donovan.
Yes.
Alderman Jokers.
Yes.
Alderman Rainey.
Yes.
Alderman Prince.
Yes.
Alderwoman Armbruster.
Yes.
7 yes, 0 no's, 1 absent. Bill number 4401 now becomes ordinance 4322.
Thank you. This is the first reading of bill number 4402, an ordinance approving a special use permit for St. Genevieve Properties LLC and Hunter Lee Holdings that will allow the replacement of a non-conforming mobile home at 205 South 10th Street, lot number 4, with a newer model mobile home.
Make a motion to approve.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, we have a second. We have a first and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
Yes. Opposed.
Opposed.
How many are opposed?
No, I abstain because Kara Nagger is my niece by marriage.
So we have 3 opposed and 1.
Thanks, Susie.
Susie, you're, what is Susie?
She's for
In
it.
favor.
In favor. Trying to do the math here.
Abstain. Mike was a yes. Joe
No.
and Ashley. What were you?
Thinking.
Oh, okay. Bob, what were you?
No.
What do you mean, huh?
Yeah, I'd like to add a comment then if I can.
Is this the first reading or the second?
That's the first reading.
That's what I
Would
thought.
it help to let her know what the vote count is?
It's 2 yes and
Because I almost wish to table it,
3 no.
but,
I'd like, is there any
but
ramifications,
I don't,
like your input on it?
Well,
We would almost
So-
have to deny this and
Deny
Hold
it.
on, I'm gonna let Mark weigh in.
Well, I guess maybe I should ask specifically, what legal question are you asking me?
is there, you know, the biggest concerns are, that have been brought up to us are not with the tenants, but with the condition of the property. Are there stipulations that we need to put in there into the special use for, you know, a few months ago when we were dealing with the RV park, we came up with a laundry list of things that we wanted them to do to make sure that they had on-site property management readily available and stuff like that. And those aren't questions that we've asked nor addressed in writing that I've seen.
Well, I mean, you have a different situation here,
Okay, of
because
course.
what you have is somewhat unique because it's a previously non-conforming use. So this use of this mobile home park is actually generally not allowed for the zoning that it is in. However, it existed before zoning was enacted. So it is a lawful non-conforming use under the law. And so then what you have to do is look at your code and what is allowed for the continued use such as it is. So the staff report did a very good job of setting forth what your ordinances say, and the ordinances allow for the replacement of a trailer with a newer trailer, 1980 or higher. And so the concerns about the property in general are interesting, and I don't want to say too much more other than your code would generally allow this replacement, if not encourage it.
And the special use, that transfers with ownership of the physical property?
Well, if you approve it, this use will continue until the use stops, whether or not the ownership of the property changes, because it's a previously non-conforming use. And you have your code written in such a way that would allow for the swapping out of trailers in this capacity.
I got several problems on this, and I've been hopping the fence on this one. You know, to me, this is another issue where this board is having to address mistakes made by other boards, that this should have been brought in as a existing mobile home park at the time, and we wouldn't be dealing with that now as a special use, because it would already be an established mobile home park under our code. Instead, it's not zoned properly to begin with, and it should have been brought in to correct the zoning to not have this problem now.
Well, was zoning in place when the park was put there?
It was not.
So then it is in the correct place, because it was in existence before zoning. You can't zone something out of use if it is already in the use. And it's lawful at the time when you impose zoning. So you cannot say, we're now imposing zoning, change the use of the property.
But it should have been brought in as a mobile home park.
No, it should be brought in as a non-conforming use.
So are our other trailer parks non-conforming uses then?
I don't know the history of any of the other parks. I know that this one is designated as a lawful non-conforming use. That's something that every public entity with uses that are this long ago has to deal with. And it is a lawful non-conforming use, so you can't enact new zoning, which would not allow this use. This is the use for it until it stops being the use.
Because, I mean, I guess what I'm getting at is that trailer park has been there since before planning and zoning was established. So, to me, I don't want to, the only word I can think of is to use the term grandfathered. I think that that's a grandfathered piece of property.
That's right.
And it's somebody's business.
I also see, hey, you know, they're trying to fix it up to bring a new trailer in to fix some of the concerns that the people do have. But then part of me also says, even just since the Planning and Zoning Commission meeting, which, you know, got kind of heated at times, there's been another change to this about owner in question versus who's in charge, who's not in charge. Is the owner in charge or is the managing company in charge? And I just see problems going forward when the property's not currently being maintained the way it should if it wasn't for the tenants taking it upon themselves to do it. Part of me says, give them a chance and let them try to fix up by replacing the trailers. Myself, I would like to see some sort of plan by the new owner on what he plans to do with the other trailers that also probably should be taken out and replaced. Is there a long-term plan for that before we approve this? That's basically why I'm voting no. There's just too many unknowns about going forward with this and allowing another trailer to be brought in when there's still problems with the ones that are there that aren't being addressed.
The problem you have, what I see with it is, the trailers that are there, they're not in violation of anything. The trailers that are there are, people are living in them. They have received occupancy permits, and they're living in the trailers. I just don't want to get into, to be honest with you, we make a decision that, you know, we're telling the business owner that, no, we're not going to approve it, and we're denying them an opportunity for business. So, and I understand Bob's concerns down there, but everything Bob told me, that should have been handled through the police department, you know? If that was happening in my house, the police would have been up there, so I suspect there's police reports and everything else.
Yeah, and I did call them.
And you're going to have that, you know? And as far as, believe me, I've been in every one of those trailers down there, and it's just what we have here, and we've been working adamantly to fix them up. There's not a problem with the people down there. The problem is with the maintenance on them. But I've been going by that trailer park in the last 2 years, and what that lady said is true. The grass is always mowed. There's been improvements in that trailer park. So
a lot of that's due to the tenants taking
care of it. The tenants ain't taking care of that. There's a company that comes in and cuts the grass. It gets paid by the holding company. The tenants don't cut their own grass. There's a business that comes in and cuts grass.
Yeah, some of the tenants do cut their own grass.
So maybe, Bob, but there's a mower that comes in there and they cut the grass, all of the grass down there. There's a lot of common ground down there that the tenants aren't cutting. So, and I'm not saying that people aren't cutting the grass around their house, but every issue we got to take care of down there, it's on us as the city with police issues and with our ordinances to take care of it. So,
I mean, I'm all for him or them or whoever it is doing, replacing the trailers, but I'm not. I just vote no until we see a lot better progress being made, some sort of plan on what he's going to do with the rest of them.
I don't know if he has to do anything.
So I don't want to say too much, but I have to advise you not to reject it on the grounds you just said, okay? The question is whether or not the new trailer, proposed trailer that would be on 1980 or greater, is consistent with the approved use of the property. And unless you have a reason to say that the proposal is not a lawful use of the property, I'm advising you not to reject this. But you can do what you want. I'll do what I can to defend it.
The best case scenario to me is if they would replace one of the existing trailers down there. I mean, Paula, you've been in them. There's a couple down there that's...
Bob, I understand that, but I understand on the business aspect, and you're a businessman, you want to replace that one, but to make money in that trailer park is to get a trailer in there and to get somebody in it and get it rented.
That's not our decision to make whether it makes money or not.
Well, that's not our decision to make. We don't own the trailer park. But they're asking us, and on what this man just said, do what you want, but, and believe me, I'm not for I know what trailers and everything that Mr. Gettinger said, I agree with 100%. But the problem we have in St. Genevieve is there's a lot of people that can't, there's not enough housing for these folks, affordable housing, and that's where they end up. And they have to have places to live. Whether we like it or not, they have to have places to live. It's our responsibility to make sure that those trailers that these people are living in are safe. And if the people come to this city hall and they have an unsafe trailer, I'll guarantee you that man back there will investigate and it'll be corrected. We've done that before. So that's our responsibility for the safety of these people in these trailer parks, and to make sure that we're upgrading. And we formed a new group to address this, and they've been working at that, to the housing and trailers, because we have them in our town. And we got to address that and make sure. And whether I'm a neighbor or not, but that trailer park has been down there, Bob. Mr. Gettinger admitted, for over 40 years. When he moved in, it was there. So I agree with Mark. I don't see where you not act on this, because I won't say no more either.
Is this something where we approve it, but everything that keeps coming up for why not to approve it is a perceived aesthetic of the property and whatnot. So is this something where we need to close some gaps in our nuisance ordinances or things like that could be addressed to hold them to a higher standard? Is that something that we need to address through other ordinances?
Well, that's why I asked David at first, how we're inspecting, those mobile homes, apartments, and single family. To me, and I'm not in the process and stuff, but it seems like we have different requirements. I've been in the rental business.
Different trailers have different requirements too, don't they? Yeah, depending on when they were built.
Right.
So,
It's still, that's a different issue, Bob, than what we're talking about right here, right now. It's a totally different issue. We're talking about, and believe me, I've had calls from apartment complexes from people that have not gotten satisfaction from their landlords and had problems, and David has investigated. And there's only so much we can do, but we do it. We don't not do anything. I think we're doing it. So whether it be a trailer or an apartment, there's apartment complexes that people complain about mold, and we investigate it, and it gets abated and corrected. So,
Look at it from my standpoint. The people have elected me to do a job. The people in my ward that are most affected have spoken their opposition to what's going on down there. So, do I not represent those people? I realize we're kind of an in-between, the people and the city and doing what's right, but,
Bob, we got to abide by the law. Whatever the law states, that's what we got to go by. You have to put your person, and believe me, it's hard for me because I help people in the trailer parks. I help them, but it's what's doing the right thing legally. That's what we have to do here, and that's the question right now. So,
that's assuming we will be challenged.
Well, we're going to be challenged, but that's what you signed up for.
Right.
And I hope if there's a problem down there in the trailer park, I hope they ring your phone off the hook, and Buck or whoever else is, and mine too. So we do something about it. That's our responsibility. And I've never neglected when my phone rings. I know you do the same thing.
Right.
And I see your point down there, but we got to do what's legally right in this situation. Because if we don't, you know what? There's ramifications on the other side.
I'm a yes vote, Bob, because there's nothing compelling that tells me that I can't do anything other than yes. But I'm in full support of your no vote because of what you just said. I mean, I
Right.
don't think.
I have to represent the people that put me in this job, and I.
Yeah, you're each on the board and you exercise
Yeah.
a vote according to what you feel is best. As
You know,
I did tonight, I support everybody.
According to the law, we can't just be, because somebody speaks here in opposition to something, doesn't mean that we cater to that. We have to do what the law says we have to do. That's what we're commanded to do, and that's what we got to do here tonight. Or if we don't, we can do what we want, just understanding there's ramifications for that, folks.
Right.
I'm willing to take on those ramifications.
Did you have an opportunity to address Ashley's question? Ashley, your question was about more stringent.
Well, and it's yes and no, but from my perspective, and it's irrelevant to this discussion. And I don't, you know, the guys in the back sometimes joke with me because my perfect meeting is when I say hello, say nothing to the whole meeting, and I say goodbye. Because that means you guys are doing your job, and you guys make the policy decisions, and I always want to stay out of that. The question before you is whether the code has been complied with, and whether this use is allowed under the code, and whether this application is consistent with the law that has been passed by this Board of Aldermen in whatever past capacity or membership there was. I can't state it more clearly.
So what I'm gleaning from your conversation is, I get what you're saying, but this board could address in a later date more stringent requirements for trailers and parks.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So we could come back together after the holidays and say that you have to do this. Is that what you're saying?
Well,
Well, it
as
depends on
an
what
ordinance
this
for everybody.
Right, that's what I'm saying, so.
I think where I'm leaning now is approving this, but also asking David and you know, even the police, if we're seeing certain levels of calls that are nuisances or something like that, I'm trying to think of how I want to say this. If you see holes in our current procedures that not only are being affected on the property in question, but other trailer parks or other properties, bring those to our attention so that we can readdress our ordinances.
And again, I'm saying that this board could come, but this board could come together and create new ordinances that make it more stringent. Is that what I'm hearing?
I just want to add one thing, and again, the nuisance piece really isn't pertinent to the special use permit.
I guess nuisance isn't what I'm saying, but there's been concerns about
Approximately a year and a half ago, we had this conversation, some individually and as a group, about the descriptions of what a nuisance is. And there's some subjectivity there. But if you want me to, I don't want to say go after. You want me to go after those folks who have rusty gutters or rusty trailers or a dent in their siding, whatever in your mind is making these trailers unattractive. I can do that, but I have to do that for everybody.
Yeah.
And
well, you can either choose to enforce an ordinance or choose to not enforce an ordinance.
We're
If you
enforcing
choose
the
not to,
ordinance,
then that's a performance
but
issue
there's
if
some
you're
subjectivity in the description of a nuisance.
Right.
In fact, I believe one of the words in the definition is annoying.
not. Well, that's true.
What's annoying? I don't know. So I get the concern. I just want to know. I just wanted to insert that we have discussed this before, and it gets very subjective. Whatever you all tell me to go do, I will go do. But I'm not going after those little things as it sits right now.
No, and I don't think that's really what I'm asking. I'm not, in the moment, I'm not exactly, I don't think I'm doing a very good job of saying what I want to say, obviously. But, like, your concern was your buildings had some damage from some tenants from that property. Was it reported to the police?
Yes.
If those things are constantly happening, or if there's the same nuisances or code violations or whatever happening at those properties, can that be brought to the attention of the board so that we can maybe get a plan together of how to address those, because everything I'm hearing is aesthetic. And
Standard of living for the occupants.
yeah, and I get
There's
that.
not one occupant here that addressed this board about their standard.
But
of
you would
living.
agree that
I'm not going to speak for anybody down there, but the
Right.
people that have come to this meeting in opposition are neighbors. The people, and you heard one of the people, the lady that was in opposition, say they have no problem with the tenants of that property right there. I think the bigger issue is what we're worried about is the new trailer going to go in there, and is it going to be what they say it is? And that's our responsibility to make sure that happens. And it's our responsibility, and that's our responsibility. And our there again is, you've heard it. What we have to do is we have to make a decision, a lawful decision, a right or wrong decision, and we're going to be held accountable either way we go.
And it would be our responsibility as well to make sure that they aren't being exploited, because maybe they're afraid to say anything against the people that they owe their
you know what?
Not today, you're not.
No, I know that,
Not
but
today.
I'm asking
Right.
for the future. Now, I realize what we're talking about today, but I'm asking about the future.
Right.
And you mentioned the standard of living or whatever. The quality of living is what's really in question for those aesthetics and stuff like that. Is there some kind of ordinance that we need to address or gap in our ordinances that we need to address to promote a higher quality of living in those situations? Like, if those are your concerns, how do we find ways of forcing their hand to meet those? Is it making sure that the units are at certain levels of efficiency?
He's got to follow the letter of the law.
Beyond
It's spot.
well, that's what I'm saying. Like, I'm not hearing a real legal reason for the denial. And I mean,
Well, there is none.
and that's
I
like.
did not say that.
No.
There is one, why are we here?
Well, what I'm saying is, like, I feel the same compelling heart issue that you all have mentioned of making sure these are quality units and making sure there's a standard set of them.
I mean, that's why we had code enforcement and stuff. We're supposed to help protect the people, that occupy these residents and stuff, and
That's what Bob and I
If I can interject, it's not planning and zoning. This is a zoning-related issue. This is a use-related issue, not a nuisance enforcement or code violation issue.
That's exactly right.
The question, the legal question before you today is whether this non-conforming use can continue, essentially. Your code allows for this non-conforming trailer park to replace their trailers. It allows it. So if people, I'll give you an example from another city. I had a problem with another city, without giving up too much, where I had they had their liquor permits approved by the board. Well, I had half the board that, because of their religious views, did not like alcohol and didn't think they should vote for it. Well, the solution was we took that power away from the board. And they agreed with that because they knew the law required them to approve liquor licenses according to the code, and they didn't feel like they could do that, but I didn't have a quorum to do it. And so I understand the argument that there are reasons from the voters or the neighbors. This is a legal question of whether or not this non-conforming use can continue in this mobile park based upon this request. And I have not heard any specific reason I have not heard any factual reason for the denial that had to do with the request. But
Joe,
I'll find something if I can do it.
So can I make a motion to have
As far as I understand it, we have a motion and a second, and I have no idea what the vote was.
Okay, I'm waiting for one vote. I still haven't heard a vote from Ashley yet.
Well,
So you're saying yes?
So does anybody want to, my point is.
I was gonna ask if we can
Change our vote.
re-announce the first reading and start over with it.
So you can
Or confirm your vote.
finish and then rescind
Or
it.
withdraw the motion to approve the first one.
Well, okay, so I think we're at this stage, the vote has been taken. Now, someone else can make another motion to approve the first reading and basically start over. But as far as I understand it, we have 3-3-1-1.
Right, so the
One
mayor would bring,
abstention, one absent, 3 in favor and 3 against, which it means it fails for lack of a majority.
But in light of what we discussed, I would change mine.
That could be the second.
What you're asking?
Well,
by
I was
extension.
I was asking to redo the first one in light of the information that
Well, that's my point.
that our council gave us during this.
Right.
So I personally feel that the first vote wasn't valid without the information that our council gave us. And I would like to redo the first reading.
Well, no, because it went down because it was tied.
I think at this point,
Mayor
the minutes should reflect 3-3-1-1. If you want to make a motion, we'll move
For a second reading?
You know, because the first reading
To
wasn't approved.
revoke or?
Okay, I make a motion to have another first reading on this.
Do I have a second for another
Second.
reading? Have a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay,
ask who's opposed.
is anybody opposed?
Yes.
Yes.
So I have 3 ayes and 2 opposed. Oh, four ayes and 2 opposed.
And one abstention. Correct?
Right, 1 extension. Now I'd like to have a motion for a
Well,
Sec-
you have to
second.
read it again.
I have to-
First reading.
first read. No,
Yeah,
I read,
go
okay,
ahead.
that's right, I did the first read. An ordinance approving a special use permit for St. Genevieve Properties LLC and Hunter Lee Holdings that will allow the replacement of a non-conforming mobile home at 205 South 10th Street, lot number 4, with a newer model mobile home.
That would be, if you wanted to, a motion for a second reading.
I'd like to have a motion for a second reading.
Well, no, we're voting on the first reading again, aren't we?
Sure. Yeah, well, you do that. That's fine.
Because it died the first time, so now we're just having it a second time, but it's still a first reading.
Okay.
Okay,
All right, motion to approve.
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
This is the first reading.
Correct.
Okay. And I-
Any opposed?
Any opposed?
Yes.
Yes.
2 opposed, 4 in favor. Motion carried.
Motion for a second reading.
I'd like to second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
The second reading of bill number,
Any opposed?
any opposed?
Yes.
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 You're opposed to the second reading?
Given our conversation here, I would like to give the public a chance to come back.
Well, maybe
Right?
we could have the second reading at the next meeting.
Right.
I mean, I hate to postpone it because we're only having 1 meeting this month, but in all fairness,
Under normal
we had a
circumstances,
big
we'd have 2 meetings.
conversation.
Right.
So are we going to bring it back to a public meeting again then?
Not necessarily a public hearing, but give people a chance of public
And then
comment,
still,
right?
yeah,
The
public
hearing is over.
things to,
We would just put on the agenda like we normally would for the next meeting for a
Right.
second reading. Under old business.
That's fine, I withdraw my motion. for a
No,
second.
no, you've already got a vote on it.
It just does.
okay. All right.
Whatever.
It's
All right.
3-3-1-1, it fails, and we're going to put it on the agenda for the next meeting.
For a second reading.
Moving forward.
Correct.
All right.
Old business.
Sorry for all the trouble I caused.
That wasn't trouble.
All right, this takes us to bill number 4403. It's the first reading and ordinance of the Board of Aldermen approving a variance and special use permit for Rodney Millfeld to Millfeld Auto Body LLC to allow the installation of an outdoor advertising sign in R1 Single Family Residential District.
Motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Do we need a second reading on that?
Yes.
Motion for a second reading?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Bill number 4403, an ordinance of the Board of Aldermen approving a variance and special use permit for Rodney Millfeld of Millfeld Auto Body LLC to allow the installation of an outdoor advertising sign in R1 Single Family Residential District.
Motion to approve.
Second?
For a roll call, please.
Alderman Smith.
Yes.
Alderwoman Johnson.
Yes.
Alderman Donovan.
Yes.
Alderman Jokers.
Yes.
Alderman Rainey.
Yes, ma'am.
Alderman Prince.
Yes.
Alderwoman Armbruster.
Yes.
7 yes, 0 no's, 1 absent. Bill number 4403 now becomes ordinance 4323.
Thank you very much. Is there any other business?
No.
If there's no other business, I'll call this meeting adjourned. Thank you. Thank you all very much.
Good luck with
Thank
those
you.
minutes.